We're going to go on Facebook. Hi, YouTube. How are you? All right, let's do it. Going on Facebook. All right. Ready? Let me know when I'm good on Facebook. Good? Am I good? Hi, YouTube. Hello, Facebook. Ladies and gentlemen, Starbucks. What does deep penetration into China actually mean? We're going to talk about that, their earnings coming up tomorrow after the close, and everything you need to know. I am Mark Melnick. This is the Newsbeat Show. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And this is non-caffeinated Starbucks water. We're going to talk about Starbucks here today. We're going to talk about how deep penetration in China is going to help their sales. They're reporting after hours tomorrow, and we're going to just tell you everything you need to know about Starbucks. So, first, by watching this show, you're already agreeing, told me, Mark Melnick, and T3 Live, harmless and not responsible for anything. If you do not agree to that, just exit this video. If you do agree, do nothing because you already are by watching and continuing forward. Okay, let's just all the stuff aside, let's just go ahead and talk about Starbucks here real quickly. Beautiful move in Starbucks. I mean, you take a look at it since January of this year, and the stock went from $61 to $91. Some of these stocks are already up like 50%. And I find it very interesting that we're in this situation here because no matter what, Starbucks to me is like a recession proof stock somewhat. I think people are less likely to go ahead and buy food from Starbucks during a depression. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been trading 20 years, and I remember I don't know what down market looks like since 2000, March 2009. Just like all of you guys don't who are trading around then, because the market pretty much went straight up and had some lulls and ebbs and flows in between, but pretty much went there. But we're going to talk about Starbucks today. They are reporting tomorrow after the bell. Just so we're clear, at the moment of this video, the stock's currently after hours trading at $90.60 after hours right here. And I just want to talk to you about their earnings, what it can entail for the company, what it can entail for you. Okay, so starting off, not a lot of companies can get into China, and that is going to be the downfall of a lot of these companies. Well, what was happening with Facebook is after whatever the discussions we had yesterday about the overblown reaction by the Department of Justice, which they just bought into Facebook all the way up and made it green today. Um, Facebook has been trying to penetrate into China for a while now, but China won't allow it because anytime you have user information about the person, the type of information that Facebook freely has on the majority of the American public. Do you think more people in America use Facebook or don't use Facebook? I don't even know their US numbers. I would have to say it's over 50%. I would pretty much guess that 1 out of 2 people in the United States use Facebook. What percentage of every family has a Facebook? Heck, people's dogs have Facebook accounts, okay? People's birds, cats have Facebook accounts. Go look up Mr. Grumpy Cat if you don't believe me. Guarantee you there's more people looking at him than you right now. But with Starbucks, they already have a deep penetration into China, and I find it hilarious in so many manners how the Chinese government allows certain U.S. companies and doesn't allow certain U.S. companies. So what happens is these U.S. companies are being incentivized to come back to the United States. Some of them do. It made sense for some of the companies, but it didn't make sense for all of the companies. So you even take a company like Apple right now, and they're still, they have a chip manufacturer in China, and they need to basically, if you don't know how this tariff thing works, they could file for exemption, tariff exemption, and Apple filed this tariff exemption with whatever department, whatever governmental department handles those things. I think it's the Treasury, if I'm not mistaken. And they're trying to exclude a tariff on one of their parts coming into the United States that's produced in China. One of the things they need to do is prove how it could be either materially harmful for the company if it's not produced in China, or it could only be produced in China for whatever reason. So that is what Apple actually submitted to the Treasury, and they're still awaiting response. The bottom line is having access to what is it? Anyone want to take a guess the number of people in China based on Google? I'm going to guess 1.4 billion number of people. And again, this number might be wrong. 2019. All right. According to the 2019 demographic, China has 1.43 billion. Now, if I change it to number of people in the US, just to give you an example, as of 2019, it's supposedly 329 million. So you have 329 million versus dun, da, 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 1.43 billion. So China has 1.1 billion people more than the United States. China is over for every person in the United States, there's like 4.5 people in China. Just to give you that example. So that's why penetrating the Chinese market and even the Indian market is of utmost importance, mainly China, because Chinese are building out, they're building out their infrastructure. More and more people want good coffee. Good coffee, no matter in what recession, will always be bought. And then you have companies that are trying to compete with Starbucks in China that just magically appeared. Why? Because they're sending out pitch decks. They're trying to raise money to try to take out Starbucks because Starbucks is being a big deal. When companies start opening up around you to compete with you, like they did with Netflix, remember? Netflix came out and they were the only streaming video service that was publicly traded. You guys remember this? Do you guys remember that? No, Apple has a service. Google has a service, YouTube Red, I subscribe to it. Amazon Prime has a service, I subscribe to that as well. Netflix has the service, I subscribe to that, and I think Facebook will be coming out with something. Apple already has it. So you have this company here competing with Starbucks, Luckin Coffee. And they want to compete with Starbucks in China. They're pushing into India and the Middle East. It's kind of funny how things work when you're in China or Korea, South Korea, or Japan or India. It's funny when you're one of those nations, if you're one of those countries, because when you actually travel east towards the United States, that's how they get to the United States. They travel east, actually more like north, and this to take advantage of global positioning. It's easier to go around the circle when you're at the top of the circle as opposed to at the equator. Okay, we all know that. So they'll fly east into the United States where there's 329 million people, but this Luckin Coffee, they're traveling west where there's a few billion people. So there's more people going west when you're in that area than east. And it's much further to go east than west. What is the point I'm making? Starbucks is going to crush it in China. Let's go ahead and talk about that. Let's talk about why I feel Starbucks is going to just absolutely destroy it in China because they penetrated China. When I look at Starbucks growth, I feel there's a different I don't feel the same people who go to Dunkin' Donuts go to Starbucks. There are people who are addicted to Dunkin' Donuts and they love the Dunkin' Donuts coffee. And I almost feel like Starbucks, price-wise and quality-wise, appeals to a different group of people. I don't think you appeal to the same group of people. In the Chinese culture, if you think coffee is big here, when it comes to adult populations, there are probably 5 to 6 times more people who drink coffee in China than the United States. Let's talk about Chinese growth. They have this agenda that they codenamed growth at scale. Last quarter, Starbucks CEO of Starbucks, Kevin Johnson, delivered another quarter of solid operating results, demonstrating that our growth at scale, in quotes, agenda is working. Listen to this. We are especially pleased with our comparable store sales growth in our two lead markets, US and China, where we also continuing to drive strong new store development with industry-leading returns. With solid first half financials, we are on track to deliver on our full year commitment. Starbucks remains focused and disciplined in the execution of our three strategic priorities. Accelerating growth in our targeted markets, that's their way of saying accelerated growth in China, targeted markets, of the US and China, expanding the global reach of the Starbucks brand through our global coffee alliance with Nestle, and increasing shareholder returns. With our efforts to streamline the company and elevate the Starbucks brand, we are not only positioning the company to deliver more predictable and sustainable operating results, but are also building Starbucks to be an enduring company that creates meaningful value for shareholders decades to come. What a lovely story. This is how I see it. The way I see it is Starbucks is China is such an untapped market that it almost seems like in order to get to that next level at this point, some of these companies are so saturated with US subscribers, they still grow, but the growth is slowing. You're not adding, there's going to come a point where you can only have so many Netflix subscribers in the United States. There's going to come a point where there's only so many people who use google.com in the United States. There comes a point where there's going to be only so many people who order on Amazon in the United States. If these multi-hundred-billion-dollar companies are to expand, the first place they should look is China. Not Mexico, not Canada. No offense, they just don't have the right number of people. You want to know what's missing from the United States? A 1.4 billion population. That is what is missing from the United States. And if you were to see that, these companies would be worth 4 or 5 times more in market capitalization, most likely than they are today. Yes, we're talking 5, 6, 7 trillion dollar companies. 5, 6, 7 trillion dollar companies. And it sounds too absurd. But let me tell you this. Back in 2000, when you have these companies that are worth like 3 billion and 4 billion and 500 million and 1.5 billion, and maybe you have a big company like 10 billion, and that's like a big company. If I told you 20 years from now we would have a multitude of trillion-dollar companies, you would probably say, "Really? You think so? What? How much could these stocks be worth? You're telling me they could go up 10 times in market cap? Some of them 50, 100, thousands? Is that even possible?" It's not only possible, it's it's not even a matter of if, ladies and gentlemen. It's a matter of when. As long as humanity exists, if you think that money is not going to grow and inflate at this point, I humbly believe that you are not looking at the bigger picture of humanity. I would humbly ask that you look at the big picture of humanity. And breaking into China, China-US relations are more important now than ever. Not because of the geopolitical nonsense that is flooding our news wires, popping up Chinese names, dropping Chinese names like, "We're sending over a couple guys to China." Wow, that's like the 75th time I've heard it this month. And what happens? Baba shoots up. Kaboom! 4 points. Boom! Look, wow. Everybody wants to buy Alibaba all of a sudden because 2 US representatives are going to China, and they might come out with nothing. And billions of dollars flow in just based off of that. You want to know what Starbucks is going to say? You want to know what Starbucks is going to say tomorrow after the bell? It's after the bell, right? Tomorrow after the bell? Yeah. It's no, yeah, tomorrow after the bell, right. They're reporting with Amazon. We did a video of that. Google, Intel, Starbucks. Starbucks is going to come out and they're going to say, we are continuing to grow in China because despite all this BS, people like good coffee. American coffee, American products. See, what most people don't know, but every Chinese person who has been to China knows this, is that US products in general sell to 3 to 4 times more expensive for everything. You want to buy a Fruit of the Loom t shirt as opposed to some random factory brand? You could pay 10 times more for that. That's just how it works. US is a sign of wealth. US products are a sign of wealth. US all products. You know what it's like? It's like French champagne. It's like wine that comes from Italy, top shelf or bottom cellar, whatever you want to call it. That's what it's like. It's like owning a Ferrari and owning like a Mazda sports car. It's that much of a difference. One gets heads turning, the other's like, that's cool. People do it as a status symbol. Not only that, Chinese economic growth has been phenomenal. Maybe not with the recent sanction war, but even overall. If you take a look at a 10-year chart of the Chinese markets, they're doing great. And to look at a company like Starbucks, this is the prestige. You're at a business meeting and you want to get coffee, you are not going to Luckin Coffee. You're at a business meeting, you need to buy coffee for your office, you're buying Starbucks. You're having a long day, you want to be as alert as possible, you will splurge slightly more for a cup of Starbucks. You will. Coffee is one of the things people never skimp on. You want to know another thing that people, I mean, there's always someone, right? But you want to know another thing that people never skimp on? I'll prove it to you. You ready? You ready? You guys want to guess? What things do people never skimp on ever? Coffee is one. You think toilet paper? Maybe. I guess I use brand name toilet paper. Maybe. People do not skimp on cigarettes. That's true. If you smoke a brand of cigarettes, you'll always buy the same brand of cigarettes. There's certain things that people always pay more for. That's the bottom line. And a cup of coffee is always one of them. A cup of coffee, water, things you put in your body, people are always willing to spend more. If that wasn't the case, Nobu next door in Manhattan, Le Bernardine, and Le Cirque, and then the Four Seasons would not exist, right? They stay in business not because they have a lot of customers. They stay in business because the customers that come in drop thousands of dollars on a meal. Skincare products, people don't skim on that too. Point being is people don't skimp on Starbucks. And the fact that Luckin Coffee IPO'd. Now remember, their last earnings report, let me show you something. Their last earnings report was right over, hold on, let me pull it up. Right over here on April 25th. Just zoom in on it for you, just to show you. They announced earnings. They opened up like 16 cents lower, dropped, popped, closed strong, and then pretty much held its own the entire way up. This is since. Now, since then, what has happened? What has changed? More people are probably drinking Starbucks in China. They have an operation that they're trying to grow people in China. They have a focused marketing effort in the US and China. And they're saying they're well positioned for long-term growth in China. And look what happened since they reported that. Oh, Luckin Coffee IPO'd, a competitor to Starbucks. When competitors start popping up, it's usually that the company in front already has such a big lead and they're growing momentously fast. Because even if you own a Burger King, you're going to want to see people eating a lot of food at McDonald's because it means that you are probably selling a lot of food at Burger King. If McDonald's is having financial issues, you are probably having financial issues too because you're not taking away people from McDonald's and they're all deciding to come to you at Burger King. The same thing is true for this coffee. People, if Starbucks is doing well, Luckin Coffee can do well. And when they're going to announce their China numbers, when they are going to announce the money that they have made in China, I wouldn't be surprised to see this company start rallying towards $100. It's been long overdue for Starbucks. They've been there forever. People are jumping up left and right. Have you ever heard of Rook Coffee? Starbucks is a $109 billion company. It's worth $109 billion right now as we speak. If China growth, let me just put it this way. Do you think they can grow China growth by 20%? Do you think they could do that? Do you think they could get 20% more people utilizing their service in China, one of the largest untapped population markets who could be Starbucks coffee drinkers? Do you think that's possible? I think it's possible. And in the big cities, they're going to be opening up storefronts every block like they've done in Manhattan. Ever go to Manhattan? You want to know the funniest thing about Manhattan? You're always a block or two from a Starbucks, no matter where you are. That's the funny thing about Manhattan. You cannot avoid Starbucks if you tried. They're going to do the same thing in cities that are way more populated than New York City. And guess what? Starbucks is going to kill it there. They're absolutely going to kill it. And just looking overall here, it'll be very interesting to see, what happens with this stock and how it moves through earnings. They are reporting tomorrow after the bell, and I'm going to be looking forward to trading it. I'm going to give you earnings names that were on our list today. You ready? I literally have them like all written down. Yeah, I know. I write like a 3-year-old. Thank you. Thanks for pointing that out. Very sensitive about my handwriting. Of course not. Every time you have bad handwriting, they say, oh, you must be a doctor or something, right? So it's always followed complimentatively. All right. So what does this all have in common? Snap, Boeing, Edwards Life Sciences. These are all names I reported, by the way. AT&T, Caterpillar, UPS, Texas Instruments, Chipotle Mexican Grill, Visa, and Norfolk Southern. You want to know what's the same? You want to know what is the same about, you want to know what's similar about those 10 names? 9 of them were scalpable with the Mark V strategy, a strategy that we offer in our Newsbeat Bandit course. 9 of them were effective and affected, right, by the Mark V strategy today. You could have made money on every single one of those names minus one of them using the Mark V strategy. It was 90% effective today. It was 80% effective yesterday, 79%. I rounded that off. It was 79% effective yesterday on every earnings names that we were watching. It's not hard to be consistent in this environment. You're going to find out what works for you. And once you figure that out, the Newsbeat Bandit course actually helps you get better at strategies you might already be doing, as well as teaching you new strategies. As soon as you're actually able to do a strategy that is right for you, you will never be effective in this market. You will never make money in this market unless you really truly know what's good for you. And there is a way to figure out what's good for you. It takes a lot of work. I tell people every time, like, do you think the Newsbeat Bandit course is right for me? And I'm like, do you want to put in the work? Instead of most people are addicted to the market. They're watching it all the time. I'm just saying, you're already there. Just spend the time the way you need to spend it as opposed to not spending it. People who follow my strategies find the right strategy that's for them. For example, the know your limit strategy from yesterday. Edward on the know your limit is batting. He did his first 100 trades. This is not a testimonial of, hi, I had one good day. Let me post it. Let's write 100 testimonials. Let's screenshot it and market the crap out of it. No, this is somebody doing 100 trades, batting 83% on the Newsbeat Live Bandits Know Your Limit strategy, 45% return per trade, 10% stop loss at 10% profit, and trailing stop of 5 cents. This is such an important statistic because it shows somebody applying a methodology over 100 trades. Not one, not two, not three, not four, not five. This actually is a sample size that's meaningful. Do you want to figure out what's good for you? Do you want to? Some people are slower. You can't scalp. You can't do this. Newsbeat Live Bandits have been crushing it in this environment. We have a strategy that's working 90% today on the earnings names we're watching, 80% the day before. What do you think? What are the odds they're going to work tomorrow on all these names we're talking about? The Facebooks, the Teslas, the PayPals, etc., 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 etc. You think we could bat 80% tomorrow on the Mark Fives? I guarantee you I can. And I guarantee you a lot of you are going to take that ride with me. Finding out what you're good at is the most important thing about in this environment. I did fundamental analysis on SBUX for you, is what I ultimately did. I did a fundamental analysis on SBUX. Do you want to actually see how to make money on SBUX by trading it the day of earnings? Do you actually want to trade it in real time? Is that something that interests you to make quick money? Like, for example, a Mark V strategy today that this is the one I focused on. Did any of you guys have problems with TC2000? There was about a couple million outages on TC2000. It's freestockcharts.com was going crazy in the morning. Yep, even with the psychological toxicity. Let me just show you an example of a Mark V. If you want to learn the exact details of the strategy, it is within the course, but I just need to show you. This is what we're buying right over here. We bought right over here through 113.60. First target day highs at 114.08. Slammed up, high volume, hit it, and grinded the entire day afterwards. This trade over here, I forgot how much I made on my options. I think 50% about 50%, a little less, like 40 something percent. So I made 50% of my money on that little move. How awesome is that? People were trading common stock. Prop traders love these strategies because they're quick in, they're quick out, they don't have to sit there, they're not drained. How many of you guys are sitting in a prop office and at the end of the day you're like, oh my God, I feel horrible. I was like inside, electromagnetic frequency central with a bunch of people breathing around me, looking at a market all day like this, trying to catch a trade. It is the most statistically effective strategy that I currently know in this environment. And you could be part of it, and you can actually be with us and watch this happen. I tell you this right now because it's never too late to start doing one thing that works for you. And there is a system out there that will actually teach you what's good for you. Maybe none of my trades are good for you. Maybe you're part of that, sub 5% that none of my trades work for you, but but you find something else that works for you. One of the strategies maybe you were doing before. The psychology aspect of the course is bar none. It was scheduled to be a 3-hour course. It lasted 6.5 hours. The value is tremendous. It literally sits there and teaches you how to figure out what works for you as a trader, gives you a ton of examples of what could work for you as a trader, and encourages you to do only what it is that you do that's effective and works for you. Once you prove that, we have cure traders of psychological fear of missing out, FOMO, cure psychological toxicity, cure fear of pulling the trigger. You want to know why all those things exist? You want to know why FOMO exists? Because people don't know what's good for them. Once you know what's good for you in the market, the one, two, three strategies that are good for you, maybe it's only one strategy. That's all you need, like Edward. Maybe that's all you need to be good at this market. You know how many different methodologies I apply that I consistently make money on? I could trade a bull flag. I could do a trend line. I could do this, that, this, that. I could do every algorithmic strategy I showed you. I probably have at least 15 to 20 tools in my belt in which I can make money consistently on. Do you need that? Hell no. Hell no, you don't need that. In fact, I discourage you from needing that unless you prove it to yourself that you're good at all those things. Then by all means, it's a buffet of all you can eat. Maybe you need to go on the all you can eat buffet. Maybe you only need the beef and broccoli. Maybe that's all you need. And you'll see somebody like me, dude who could probably eat more than anyone you've ever met, and I'll get the beef and broccoli, the chicken and this, the this, that, this, that, bum, 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 three different desserts, cookies, sodas, and I'm like, then they'll throw me out of the. I thought the whole goal of an all you can eat buffet was to make sure you cost them money by going in, right? But the whole point in trading, jokes aside, you just need to be good at one thing. You just need to be good at one thing. I have created the first video that I have ever seen that exists out there that literally teaches you what you're good at. Maybe what you're good at is something, maybe you're doing 5 strategies and you're really good at them, but you're going to prove it to yourself. Go through the psychological loop, the Melnick OODA loop, how to decide on these trades and actually figure out what's good for you. I tell you this right now because sometimes people need a calling in life. We've done so much good for the community, cancer runs, um, St. Jude's Hospital, Garden of Dreams Foundation. We try to do so much good in the world. You know what happens if I'm able to help you? You know what happens? You're going to make money consistently. You're going to take care of the people around you, and you will donate money to these charities. And you know what that does? Nothing is more powerful than that. Nothing is more powerful than that. Nothing is more powerful than turning a trader who wasn't consistent into a consistent trader. And just reading, things like Edward, do you think Edward is concerned about the one and done, the Mark 5, the trend line, the this, the that, the this, the that, the this, the that? He couldn't care less about any of them. Look at that. That's 100 trades, not one. On any day, I could show you a good trade. Anyone can. And any one day, I could boast a P&L. Anyone can. You want to know what most people can't do? They can't show 100 of the same idea being applied and batting over 70%, in this case 83. I aim for 70 or better. You want to know where we get these statistics, where we get these numbers from, how people are doing them? It's funny because I read that and it really just ends up encouraging me. Like it motivates me to push harder. When I see people coming back with results like this, it's basically proof of concept in the most serious manner. And it's just messages like these that are saying like, I need to get on that level. I'm not batting 83% on my know your limit. I'm batting over 70. I haven't checked my stats in the last month, but I'm probably batting like 73, 74, maybe 75. I haven't checked. I do my totals at the end of the month. But I'm not batting no 83%. So I'm sitting there and I am inspired by that because I'm like, I could do better with that. Because I know I'm good at that strategy. I know I am. I want to do it better. I want to do it like him. I want to make more on my wins. I want to lose less on my wins. I want to bet higher than where I am now. Don't you want to better yourself? We'll teach you how to better yourself as a trader. We will take wherever you are now and elevate you. It's like, imagine me, I'm like a 6'4" monstrosity, and imagine me just holding you up by the airs like a cheerleader and holding you up by your feet in the air. That's what I'm going to try to do with you. And I'm not giving up on you. I would never give up on you. I'm here for you. You just have to take that first step. You just have to let me help you. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my room and I'm going to do a private broadcast like I do for them 6 days a week, twice on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 6 times a week. And I'm going to focus on helping them make money tomorrow. Help me help you. Become part of my focus. Become part of a community in which I have never seen a group of people come together like a family and help each other. Link in the description. Happy trading, make money. I will see you guys tomorrow on the Newsbeat live trading broadcast. Have a wonderful evening.